In this video, I'm doing a review of the Lemome, or it might be Lemome. I'm not particularly sure how to pronounce it. It's spelled Lemome. You might be watching this one because you've seen my review of the Lemome, whatever you pronounce it, weekly planner. That one was very minimalist, stripped back, there's no color or anything, and that is the same style as well used for this doc grid notebook. So I'll be upfront, I'm not particularly a fan of it. I think it's a bit too boring, especially since there's so many nicer like cover colors and other options available, and this one is missing a lot of the extras that I would expect have kind of actually become more like standard inclusions in doc grid notebooks lately. So just putting that out there, because this review is probably not going to be that positive about the notebook. So the cover, I could only find this boring black, which if you follow my videos, I'm really bored with black. I've seen it a million times. The only other option though was a brown, and I cannot stand that like brown leathery look. I just don't like it. I much prefer the black. The cover, normally hardcovers hold up pretty well, but this one actually dented a bit in transit. It was coming from the US though, so it probably got damaged on the way over here to Australia. It does have this handy pen loop on the spine, which I do quite like, very convenient, and something that not a lot of doc grid notebooks do include. The photos though showed more of what I thought was going to be whiter paper, whereas it's more like an ivory cream, so I'm not terribly impressed with that. Thickness, it is about, I'd say, 1/2 inch thick. The page size is a little bit wider than some of the doc grid notebooks that I have, so that's definitely convenient if you wanted to do a 2-column list. This is about 6 inches wide by about 8.5, 9 inches high. I will have all the exact dimensions linked in the description below, and if you are curious, yes, it is a 5mm doc grid. There is the website if you wanted to look it up. I got this off Amazon though, so readily available no matter where you live. Amazon usually ships everywhere. First impressions, so it just seems a little empty. There is no index, there's no contents page, and as you probably saw then, there is no page numbers either. And unfortunately that dent has carried the whole way through into the pages. It's pretty much indented in there. I don't think that's coming out anytime soon. It's pretty basic. The dots also, I think they're too bold. I much prefer when there's a more subtle dot grid, so then when you rule up your spread, the dots sort of disappear like into the background. These ones are very prominent. That's a very thick grey dot, so not really liking that. Not really liking the paper color. There's no page numbers, so it's not going too well so far with this review. The next negative which I have is that there is only one ribbon bookmark, which is not terribly practical. I think you definitely need 2, 3 even these days for a doc grid notebook. Like, what if you want to mark your weekly and your daily, or your weekly and your monthly? You know, you put it on one and then you don't have another ribbon. They do give you this little sheet of tab stickers though, so that is something that not many doc grid notebooks include. I'll give them that. Just single-sided, 6 tabs. You could also use some washi tape, but I do just like the convenience of having the ribbon bookmark, because if you do some washi tape, especially if you use the wider stuff, it might start intruding onto your last row of your dots, which you might want to use for your spread. So I mean, washi tape is an alternative, but it does take up a little bit of space. So you're probably here for the pen review. All the usual pens that you've probably seen me use dozens of times in these reviews by now. So let's see how the pens fared. There is a bit of show through. I was expecting more. It's not entirely bled through, it's just a lot of ghosting. There's ghosting for all of the pens, the gel, fine tip, ballpoint, especially the marker pens. So yeah, paper quality, not fantastic. For the highlighters and stamps, again, we have some ghosting and some bleed through for the stamps. So I'm not really understanding the hype around this notebook. I think there's plenty of other notebooks that are better quality, that are cheaper. It is a wider page size, which is good, but apart from that, I don't really have anything else that I think I can mention that is different about it, because it's pretty basic, just like a lot of the doc grid notebooks that are available now. Pocket folder at the back and the elastic band if you want to keep everything closed. I've just left it there to film this review. And that's literally it. It is a very basic notebook. So I really think the only reason you would get this notebook is if you wanted to do drafting bullet journal spreads. So I usually will use this as sort of like scrap paper. So if there's a notebook that I don't particularly like, or that's cheap, like this one, then I will draft my spreads in here, and then I can do as much, rubbing out and erasing and changing, like if I want to do 2 columns or 3 columns or whatever. And then once I'm happy with the design, then I can go and do it in my actual bullet journal and it'll keep it all neat. So drafting up spreads, if you wanted to do a brain dump of a list, because this notebook is a little bit wider, you could fit 2 columns in here and not have it too bunched up. Some of the notebooks, when they stop about here, I think that's not wide enough for doing 2 columns, but this one you probably could, so you could do some brain dumping of to-do lists. Apart from that, I don't really think I will use it for anything else. I think there's definitely much better alternatives for Dockery notebooks. I'll include a link down below to a comparison that I've done of about 30 of them if you are having trouble deciding. This one's a good starter one, but I don't think it's terribly high quality. I think there's better options. I'll have some links to some of my favorites down below if you're interested. Don't forget to subscribe. I usually post a couple of review videos each week, and I do have some other Dockery notebook reviews on my channel as well.